Hello everybody, I am Dr. Panduranga Nayak, Principal and Associate Professor, Sri Venkatramana Swami College, Bantwal. I am going to interact with you on the topic Ratio Analysis Part 1. Ratio analysis is an important tool for the analysis and interpretation of financial statements. Now, what do you mean by financial statements? See, a businessman does so many transactions during the year. At the end of the year, he wants to know whether he has earned profit or incurred losses. That's one thing. Secondly, he would like to know the financial position of the business at the end of the year, whether his financial position is a strong, sound, or unsound. So he wants to know. Therefore, he summarizes all the transactions at the end of the year in the form of final accounts, or we call that financial statements. The financial statements normally consist of income statement, that is trading and profit and loss account, and position statement, financial position statement, that is balance sheet. Trading and profit and loss account tells you or reveals the profit earned or losses incurred during a financial year. Whereas balance sheet is a statement of assets and liabilities as on a particular date, that is as on 31st March of the academic year, accounting year. See, financial statements will show the actual figures but are absolute figures. Though they are very helpful, they don't convey much of the things. So if you have to understand these financial statements, you have to go for analysis and interpretation. And there are various methods of analysis and interpretation. For example, common size statement, comparative statements, common size statements, trend analysis, and ultimately ratio analysis. Ratio analysis is an important tool for analysis and interpretation of financial statements. Before going ahead, what do you mean by ratio? Ratio is a statistical yardstick that provides measure of relationship between two accounting variables. The ratios show the relationship between two interrelated accounting figures. For example, sales and net profit, or gross profit and sales, or cost of goods sold to sales. So, it shows the relationship between two interrelated accounting figures. Ratio should not be calculated between two unrelated figures. For example, sales and discount on issue of shares. These two figures are totally unrelated, and even if you calculate the ratio, that will not serve the purpose. So therefore, ratio is the yardstick that provides the measure of relationship between two accounting figures. For example, gross profit ratio is say 25%. What do you mean by that? If you sell the goods of rupees 100, you are going to make a profit of 25 gross profit. So that is the interpretation of that particular ratio. That shows the relationship between two accounting figures. Okay, what is ratio analysis? So use of ratios in the analysis of financial statements is nothing but ratio analysis. Ratio analysis is done to develop meaningful relationship between individual items. For example, gross profit and sales, net profit and sales, operating expenses and sales, cost of goods sold to sales. or say uh, like that, these items. So relationship between two individual items or group items. For example, current ratio. Current ratio means proportion of current assets to current liabilities. So current assets means group of items. Current liabilities means group of items. So the relationship between two group of items. Liquidity ratio, liquid ratio or quick ratio. So quick assets is to quick liabilities. Or say proprietary ratio, proprietors funds to total tangible assets. Debt equity ratio, debt to equity. So that way, relationship between group of items which are shown in the financial statement of an enterprise. So to develop a meaningful relationship, okay, debt equity ratio is 2:1. What do you mean by that? Debts are 2 times the uh, equity. As a current ratio is 2:1. What do you mean by that? Current assets are 2 times the current liabilities. So thereby you can make out whether the financial position of the concern is good or bad. Liquidity position is good or bad. So you can make out. So ratio analysis is a process of determining and presenting the relationship of different items and group of items in the financial statements. Ratio analysis is one of the important tools of financial analysis. It is the technique of calculating a number of accounting ratios from the data or figures found in the financial statements. So calculating different ratios based on the information available in the financial statements, comparing the computed accounting ratios with those of the previous years, we call that inter-period comparison, or with those of other concerns engaged in similar line of activities, we call that inter-firm comparison. You are comparing the performance of one concern with that of another concern, or with those of standard or ideal ratios. For example, standard ratio in the case of current ratio is 2:1. So you can compare that with the standard ratio. You can compare the ratio of a concern, current ratio of a concern, with the standard ratio or ideal ratios and interpreting the comparison. For example, say gross profit ratio is 25%. So if you sell the goods of rupees 100, you're going to make a profit of 25. Whereas in another concern, it could be say 20%. Then compared to that, yours is better. Or inter-period comparison. For example, last year it was 18%, next year it was 20%, and this year it is 25%. So you can see the trend. So in this case, there is an increasing trend. Sometimes there may be decreasing trend. For example, in 1 year it was 25%, second year 22%, third year say 20%. So there is a declining trend. So you can make out whether the concern is doing well or not. You can go for inter-period comparison, or you can go for inter-firm comparison, or you can compare your performance with standard ratios, and thereby you can draw the conclusion whether the concern is doing well or not. So that is the purpose of ratio analysis. Now let us see the importance of ratio analysis. In what way ratio analysis is useful in the analysis and interpretation of financial statements. There are many interested groups of people in the use of ratios and interested in the financial statements of a concern, like investors. Investors would like to know whether their investment is safe or not, and whether the investments get steady returns. Creditors, they would like to know whether whether the loans advanced by them are safe and whether they are able to get back the amount. Management is interested in performance, whether the performance is improving or not. If it is giving a good performance, it's a credit to management. If performance ratios are not showing good performance, then definitely it is having a telling effect on the management. Employees are interested in profit. If the profits are better, more, they are likely to get good higher salary, likely to get bonus, and also if they are holding the shares, share values also increase. Okay, government is interested in tax, thus there are many interested parties. So ratio analysis will help them to analyze the financial statements, and thereby that will serve them. Some of the important advantages of ratio analysis are given below. Simplification of figures. So in the financial statement you find absolute figures. Now you can put it in simple form. For example, you find gross profit, you find net sales, but what is the relation, what is the interpretation of that? So you calculate gross profit ratio, gross profit is compared to net sales, and interpret that. If 100 rupees are sold, goods of 100 rupees sold, you're going to make a profit of 25. Okay, if it is very low, for example 5%, then it does not reveal profitability of the concern. On the other hand, if it is 25-30%, definitely it shows that concern is doing a lot of profits. Okay, it facilitates comprehension, understanding of financial statements and evaluation of several aspects such as financial health, profitability, and operational efficiency of the undertaking. It simplifies the accounting and summarizes accounting figures and make them more understandable. Financial statements give you absolute figures or values which you may not be able to understand, but if it is presented in the form of ratios showing the relationship between individual items and group of items, then it is better to understand. So that is more understandable. Next one, useful financial information. The accounting ratios provide comparative information about the financial health of the enterprise. Such information is used by the financial institutions and creditors for making their lending decisions. So, the ratios will provide useful information for taking decisions for all those who are interested in the financial position of the concern, financial statements of the concern. Inter-firm comparison is possible, period comparison is possible, and even the relationship between different figures within the same financial statement, that can also be understood with the help of ratios. So ratios will provide you a lot of information to make or to take certain decisions. Assessment of operational efficiency. Generally, the operational efficiency of a concern is reflected through its liquidity, whether the assets can be converted into cash easily so that you can pay the liabilities as and when they fall due. Solvency, so whether the concern has got enough assets to pay off the liabilities. Profitability, whether the concern is making sufficient profit so that you can pay dividend to the shareholders, pay interest to the debenture holders, and you can repay the liabilities, etc. If continuously, if a firm is earning profits, definitely it is a positive symptom. Accounting ratios help us to understand the liquidity, solvency, and profitability position of a concern. Thus, it helps us to assess operational efficiency of the concern, whether the concern is functioning well, doing well. So that could be understood with the help of ratios. Helps in forecasting and planning. If accounting ratios are calculated for a number of years, then a trend is established. This trend helps in setting up of future plans and in forecasting. Forecasting means what? foreseeing the future in advance based on the uh, performance in earlier years, trend of different items in the past. You can forecast the future. So forecasting is nothing but foreseeing the future in advance based on past analysis. Analyze the past and foresee the future and take a decision now. The ratios help the management to prepare budgets and to prepare the future plan of action. So if you have to plan for future, the existing data will help you. But that must be presented in proper form. So ratios will help you to prepare the budgets and also to prepare for future plan of action. Useful in inter-firm comparison. So I already told you ratios are very helpful for inter-firm comparison, intra-firm comparison. You can compare the performance of different departments or divisions of the same firm. If there are many departments doing same job or similar job, the performance of different departments can be compared, and then you can arrive at a conclusion as to how different departments are performing. Helps in inter-firm comparison. So that will help you to compare your performance with that of some other concerns. For example, you can compare the performance of say Infosys Limited with that of say TCS or say Wipro or HCL. So like that you can go for comparison of the performance of the concerns. So inter-firm comparison is possible with the help of ratios, and that will help the management to take remedial measures if there is any problem, if there is any deficiency. So that can be set right by taking remedial measures by the management. So ratios will indicate all these things. Helps to find out sickness of the enterprise. Accounting ratios help to assess liquidity, long-term earning capacity, financial position, etc., which will help to identify and warn against the corporate sickness. For example, if the current ratio is say less than 1 compared to the current liabilities, say 0.75 is to 1, that means the value of current assets is less than the current liabilities. So when the current liabilities fall due, you may not have enough current assets to pay off them on time. So that shows that liquidity position of the concern is in question. Long-term capacity, for example, long-term financial position. So if the liabilities of the concern are more than the liabilities, when the liabilities fall due, you may not have enough assets to pay them off. Therefore, your financial position may not be good. On the basis of this, management can take corrective actions. Okay, effective communication. Ratio analysis serves as an effective means of communication. It informs the profitability, operational efficiency, and financial position of the concern to the shareholders. Similarly, prospective investors who are interested in investing in shares and debentures of a company. Management is also very much bothered, because if the performance is good, they can convey to the shareholders that they have managed the business properly. Otherwise, definitely they have to cut a sorry figure. Then creditors, they can be very sure that they will get back the amounts due. Banks, if they are lent the money, they can recover the loans. Financial institutions, same explanation. Employees, they are very much interested in their pay. If the concern is doing very well, then there are chances of getting a hike in salaries. They may get bonus and other perquisites. Otherwise, they may not get. Government is interested in tax. and also they will get enough revenue so that that can be used for developmental purpose of the society or the country and other interested parties. See, ratios no doubt have so many advantages. They are highly useful for so many people and in different ways. But ratios are also not without limitations, not without or not free from shortcomings. Now, let us say some of the shortcomings or limitations of ratio analysis. Changing accounting policies. See, two firms can be compared with the help of accounting ratios only if they follow the same accounting procedures. If different firms follow different accounting procedures or methods or standards, any analysis based on such methods could be misleading. For example, one concern follow fixed installment method of providing depreciation, whereas another concern will follow diminishing balance method. So in this case, comparison will be very difficult because they follow different methods or they follow different accounting policies and practices. And even in the case of valuation of stock or inventory, cost means what? So it could be based on LIFO or PIFO or standard cost, like that. There are different interpretation. If different concerns follow different accounting methods or standards, then comparison is not possible and comparison is misleading rather. Correctness of accounting data. Accounting ratio can be correct only if data are correct. Ratio is based on financial statements which are themselves subject to a number of limitations. Thus, ratios calculated on the figures given in the financial statements also suffer from similar limitations. If financial or accounting figures used in the calculation of ratios are not authentic, the ratios calculated on the basis of such data are of no value. So that will be highly misleading. Absence of common standard. A common standard of comparison cannot be laid because situations differ from firm to firm. Even the nature of industry differs from one another. For example, a concern might be in existence for the last 100 years, whereas another concern might have came into existence very recently. So in this comparison is very difficult. And once again, the nature of industry differs from one another. That also makes comparison be difficult. Price level changes. Prices of goods or assets that will not remain constant, that will keep on changing. Inflationary conditions also play their role in the prices. For example, if you purchase an asset 10 years back for 10,000, that is not equal to 10,000 now. Definitely the value might have increased substantially. Now for the same asset, the price might be 20,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, like that. So price level of various items will not remain constant over a period of time. It will change from year to year. These changes in price levels make comparison for various years very difficult. And financial statements are based on historical data, and ratios calculated based on historical data definitely have limitations. Insufficient information. Sometimes sufficient information may not be available to calculate the ratios. The ratios give limited information about the business concern. To make an exhaustive analysis of various financial statements requires vast information which is not supplied by the ratio analysis. Therefore, ratio analysis can be used along with other methods of analysis. For example, comparative statements as a common size statement, trend analysis. So similar such statements. So just ratios themselves may not help you for getting a comprehensive picture of the financial position of the concern. So ratios are one of the tools of analysis. Ignores qualitative data. So ratios are based on accounting values, quantitative figures. Therefore, that is restricted to quantitative analysis. But qualitative analysis is equally important. For example, efficient workforce in an organization is very, very important. Committed, highly committed, talented workforce. That also is a good indicator of a good concern. It's not just quantitative data or information, even qualitative information is absolutely essential. If the employees are highly motivated, then definitely it's a positive symptom. On the other hand, even if the employees are really good, talented, but if they are not committed, if they are not motivated, then the concern may not do well. So along with quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis is also important. So qualitative aspects are factors which also influence the conclusions drawn or ignored in the ratio analysis. Differences in definition. Comparison are made difficult due to difference in definitions of various financial terms. Lack of standard formula for working out ratios make it difficult to compare. Let me give an example. See, quick ratio. Some authors use the formula for calculating quick ratio as quick assets divided by quick liabilities. Whereas some authors follow quick assets divided by current liabilities. Therefore, different authors follow different formula in order to calculate ratios. So that makes comparison difficult. That makes getting inferences from the comparison. Therefore, this is one of the limitations of ratios. Need for more ratios. See, a single one or two ratios that may not give you comprehensive picture of the liquidity position or say financial position or say profitability position of the concern. Let me give one example. Say current ratio of a concern is, let us say, 3:1. Standard ratio, let us take 2:1. That means if you consider the current ratio, definitely the current ratio of the particular concern is very good because it is 3:1. Current assets are 3 times the current liabilities. Even if the value of current assets comes down significantly, still they will be able to meet the current liabilities. But if the current assets consist of say stock, substantial portion of current assets consist of stock which is unsold for a long period of time, then definitely that's not a good symptom. Current ratio no doubt is good, but components of current assets, especially stock, so that shows that concern is not doing very well. Your closing stock consists of obsolete goods, goods which are not sold forever or for a long period of time. So there must be another ratio that must be used for that. That is stock turnover ratio. So how fast the stock is converted into cash, that's also important along with a current ratio. So current ratio must be supplemented with say stock turnover ratio or inventory turnover ratio. Similarly, if current assets consist of a major part of current assets consist of debtors, so debtors remain like that only without collection for a long period of time, then also even though current ratio is good, actually the concern is not doing very well. The amounts are not collected from the debtors quickly. So there are possibilities of bad debts. Therefore, if you have to go for proper analysis along with current ratio, you must also go for debtors turnover ratio. So like that, one ratio may not be helpful for you. So more than one ratios should be used for proper analysis. And even ratio analysis itself is not enough. You must also go for other tools of analysis so that you can analyze and interpret the financial statements properly. Anyway, ratios are useful for financial analysis and interpretation of the financial statements of different concerns. Now let us see how the ratios are expressed. There are three forms of expression of ratios. For example, pure ratio. So here you express the relationship between the figures in proportion. For example, current assets is to current liabilities. Current assets are 2 times the current liabilities. This is the interpretation. Pure ratio or proportion. So current assets to current liabilities are 2:1. That means current assets are 2 times the current liabilities. Rate. Say for example, how many times in a year the debts are turned over or converted into cash? How many times in a year stock is converted into cash? Or the rate at which the debt is converted into cash or stock is converted into cash. So rate. So current assets are 2 times the current liabilities. Okay. Percentage. For example, gross profit ratio. Gross profit to net sales is 30%. That means if you sell the goods of 100 rupees, you are going to make a profit of 30. Similarly, net profit ratio is 15%. That means if you sell the goods of 100 rupees, you are going to make a net profit of 15%. For example, cost of goods sold, let us say 60%. That means if you sell the goods of rupees 100, of that 60% is cost of goods sold. The remaining 40% is gross profit. So the percentage. So accounting ratios can be expressed as pure ratios, as a rate, and as a percentage. So in different occasions, different expression of ratios are used. Classification of ratios. Okay, there are different classifications. Different authors classify the ratios into different ratios. For example, profitability ratio. I'm not explaining all these ratios, just I will list out or just read out. Gross profit ratio, operating profit ratio, expense ratios, operating profit ratio, net profit ratio, return on capital employed, return on total assets. So these are the classifications based on profitability. Market test ratios, earning per share, price earning ratio, payout ratio, dividend yield ratio. These are the ratios which are very useful from the point of view of shareholders. Then coverage ratios, fixed interest cover. So creditors are very much interested in this. Debenture holders are very much interested in this. Fixed dividend coverage ratio, for example, preference shares. Then debt service coverage ratio, whether you will be able to pay the interest regularly, whether you will be able to service the debt properly on time. So these ratios will tell you all these things. Coverage ratios, turnover ratios, sales to capital employed, sales to fixed assets, sales to working capital, so like that. Financial or solvency ratios, current ratio, liquid ratio, absolute liquidity ratio, fixed assets ratio, debt equity ratio, proprietary ratio, capital gearing ratio, leverage ratios. Then yes, leverage ratio has got two things: operating leverage and financial leverage. As I have mentioned, different authors classify the ratios into different ways, rather. But as per the syllabus, we are going to study some stipulated ratios, specified ratios. Let us take one by one of them. First one is current ratio. Already you know current ratio is nothing but ratio of current assets to current liabilities. It indicates the firm's ability to cover current liabilities with current assets. Whether you will be able to pay the current liabilities without any strain by making use of current assets. If there is no problem whatsoever in paying the current liabilities as and when they fall due, then definitely your current ratio is good. Generally, 2 is to 1 is considered as favorable uh, ratio. It is expressed as current ratio is equal to current assets is to current liabilities, or current assets divided by current liabilities. Both are okay. Now, what are current assets? Current assets consist of what? Current assets include cash, bank balance, short-term investment, bills receivable, trade debtors, stock, and prepaid expenses. What are current liabilities? That includes trade creditors, bank overdraft, bills payable, provision for taxation, proposed dividends, unclaimed dividends, and outstanding expenses. Okay, that's about current ratio. Liquidity ratio, or liquid ratio rather. Liquid ratio is also called by different names like acid test ratio, sorry, and then quick ratio. It is the ratio of liquid assets to liquid liabilities. Normally, ratio of 1 is to 1 is considered ideal for a business concern. So, formula is liquid ratio is equal to liquid assets is to liquid liabilities. The ratio, ideal ratio is 1 is to 1. Or liquid assets divided by liquid liabilities. Okay, what are liquid assets? Liquid assets are current assets except stock and prepaid expenses. Okay, what are current liabilities? Current liabilities, liquid liabilities are liquid liabilities are current liabilities except bank overdraft and cash credit. Okay, liquid liabilities is equal to current liabilities minus bank overdraft and cash credit. Okay, stock turnover ratio. I told you current ratio must be supplemented by stock turnover ratio and debtors turnover ratio, etc., so that your analysis and interpretation of financial statements will be meaningful. Stock turnover ratio indicates the speed at which the inventories are converted into sales during the year. How fast, at what speed the inventories are converted into sales, that is important. Otherwise, if the inventories remain idle without sale, then that shows inefficiency. Greater the turnover denotes that the management is efficient. Higher turnover is always preferable because lower turnover means accumulation of more obsolete stock, unsold stock, which remains unsold for a long period of time, which is not a good symptom. Okay, stock turnover ratio is equal to cost of goods sold divided by average stock held during the year. What is cost of goods sold? Cost of goods sold means opening stock, add purchases, add direct expenses, minus closing stock. Or indirectly, sales minus gross profit is nothing but cost of goods sold. What is average stock? Opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. Sometimes opening stock information may not be available in the problem, then closing stock is taken as average stock. And similarly, cost of goods sold information may not be available. In that case, net sales are taken as cost of goods sold. Gross profit ratio. So, gross profit to net sales into 100. So, that shows you the profitability position of the concern. That means, for example, if the gross profit ratio is 30%, that means if you sell the goods of rupees 100, you're going to make a profit of 30, gross profit of 30. Higher the percentage of gross profit, it is always better because lower percentage indicates reduced selling price or increased cost of production. So you can increase the profit in two ways. One is increasing the selling price, the other one is decreasing the cost of production. If there is decrease in the profit, it means either there is a reduction in selling price because of competition and other factors, and the other one is increased cost of production, maybe because of increase in the cost of inputs, or maybe For example, raw material costs have gone up, or inefficient cost of operation of the concern. Next one, net profit ratio. It is the ratio of net profit and sales. It means net profit ratio is very useful to the owners and prospective investors because it indicates the overall profitability of the concern. If a concern is consistently and continuously doing a lot of profits, making good profits, good ratio of net profits, then definitely the investors will have confidence in the concern. They may invest, and management also, or the shareholders will be happy because they are very sure of getting regular dividends or consistent dividends. Debt equity ratio. So this is a ratio calculated to find out the soundness of long-term financial policies of the concern. Whether the concern is financially solvent, whether it is in a position to pay up the liabilities in full. So what is the share of debt in the total assets of the concern? Similarly, what is the share of shareholders in the total assets of the concern? So they are proportion. So long-term debts divided by shareholders' funds, or external equities divided by internal equities. What do you mean by shareholders' funds? Shareholders' funds include preference share capital, equity share capital, profit and loss account credit balance, capital reserve and revenue reserves, but it will not include fictitious assets. Fictitious assets value should be deducted. Shareholders fund is equal to preference share capital plus equity share capital plus reserves and surplus minus fictitious assets. Capital gearing ratio. This ratio establishes the relationship between fixed interest bearing securities and equity shareholders funds. A company is said to be highly geared if major share of total capital is in the form of fixed interest bearing securities. Fixed interest bearing securities divided by equity shareholders funds. Now, what do you mean by fixed interest bearing securities? It does not mean only debentures and long term loan. That also include preference share capital, because you have to pay a fixed rate of dividend on preference capital. Therefore, that is included under fixed interest bearing securities. So that includes preference share capital, debentures and long-term loan. Equity shareholders funds, here equity share capital and reserves and surplus, and even sometimes if there are fictitious assets, they are going to be deducted. Some authors take only equity share capital and reserves and surplus. They don't take fictitious assets, but preferably to take fictitious assets also while calculating equity shareholders funds. Equity share capital, reserves and surplus minus fictitious assets. Okay, next, debtors turnover ratio. How many times, how many number of times on an average the receivables are turned over into cash? So that is nothing but debtors turnover ratio. If the ratio is high, it means debtors are very efficiently managed. So the rate at which the debts are converted into cash, that indicates debtors turnover ratio. If the collection rate is very high, that means the credit collection department is very efficient in collecting the debts. Okay, debtors turnover ratio is equal to net credit sales divided by average debtors. But sometimes you may not get the information regarding net credit sales. In that case, total sales can be taken. Similarly, opening debtors value is not available, then closing debtors can be taken as a representative value. Creditors turnover ratio, just like debtors turnover ratio, creditors turnover ratio is also calculated. The ratio gives the average credit period taken by the creditors. Creditors turnover ratio is equal to net credit purchases divided by average account payable. How many times in a year you are paying the creditors? How much time is allowed by the creditors to you? to make the payment. Okay, that's nothing but creditors turnover ratio. Accounts payable is equal to sundry creditors plus bills payable. Even here, in the case of debtors turnover ratio, net credit sales divided by average receivables, that is in fact better than average debtors. So average receivables include not only debtors but also bills receivable. And similarly in the case of creditors, average account payable, here account receivable, whereas here account payable, that includes sundry creditors and bills payable. Okay, then proprietary ratio. So relationship between shareholders funds and total tangible assets. What is the share of shareholders in the total tangible assets of the concern? Shareholders funds is equal to equity share capital plus preference share capital plus reserves and surplus minus fictitious assets. Total tangible assets. So that includes all tangible assets, but that does not include intangible assets, and fictitious assets also should be excluded. Operating ratio. This ratio indicates the proportion that the cost of sales bears to sales. Operating ratio is equal to cost of goods sold plus operating expenses to net sales. Cost of goods sold is equal to opening stock plus purchases plus direct expenses minus closing stock. To that you are adding operating expenses. What are operating expenses? Administrative expenses and selling and distribution expenses. Sometimes even some authors take even financial expenses under operating expenses. Anyway, while solving the problems, better to give a note. Some authors exclude financial expenses while considering operating expenses, whereas some others include that under operating expenses. Okay, next one and the last one, working capital ratio. Same thing which I already learned, current ratio. Working capital ratio is equal to current assets divided by current liabilities. Further division of that, working capital to inventory, that is working capital divided by inventory. What's working capital? Before that, working capital turnover ratio, net sales divided by working capital. What's working capital? Current assets minus current liabilities is nothing but working capital. So thus these are the different ratios which you are supposed to learn. I think by now you have understood all these ratios. Now let me help you to solve a problem. So here is a here are two sets of balance sheets. I mean, one is for 2018, the other one is for 2019. Balance sheet is a statement of assets and liabilities. Assets are there, liabilities are there. And with the help of the above balance sheets, you are required to calculate current ratio. What do you mean by current ratio? Current ratio is equal to current assets is to current liabilities, or current assets divided by current liabilities. What are current ratios? In 2018, current ratios consist of stock 56,160, debtors 11,260, cash 15,380. And in 2019, 49,460, 11,710 and 26,020. So this is about current assets. These should be compared with current liabilities. So here only creditors and bills payable are considered to be current liabilities, whereas debentures are long-term liabilities. So here current liabilities for 2018 12,750 and 20,000, and for 2019 6,500 and 16,000. So look at the current ratio calculated here. Current ratio is equal to stock, debtors and cash. Current liabilities is equal to bills payable and creditors. So these are the items in this problem. So the values are like this, and if you calculate the ratio, you will get 2.53:1. It should be proportion, not dot. It should be proportion. So current assets are 2.53 times the current liabilities. So it appears to be good ratio when compared to standard ratio. If you calculate it in percentage terms, it will be 252.82%. Current assets are 252% of current liabilities. And for 2009, it has improved. It is 3.88 when compared to current liabilities. Even if there is fall in the current value of current liabilities, still you will be in a position to pay up the current liabilities. And percentage wise, it is 380. It should be 388.51%. Subject to correction, 388.51%. Okay, liquidity ratio. Liquidity ratio means liquid assets divided by liquid liabilities, or liquid assets is to liquid liabilities. Here, liquid assets means current assets minus stock, or here only two items, debtors and cash. Liquid liabilities means they are as good as current liabilities. From the current liabilities, in order to calculate quick liabilities, you have to exclude bank overdraft and cash credit, but those items are not there here. Therefore, liquid liabilities or quick liabilities are as good as current liabilities. Okay, if we calculate the ratio here, it is 0.81 to 1, and normally standard ratio is 1:1. That means this is not a good indicator, and current liquid assets are 81.34% of liquid liabilities, whereas in 2019 that has improved. It is 1.68 compared to current liabilities. Rather, it is 167.69%. Okay, debt equity ratio. Okay, debt equity ratio means debt, that is long term debt to shareholders funds. So what are long term debts here? So long term debts here, you have only one item, debentures. You see here, just one item, long term debt means only debentures. And equity shareholders funds, shareholders funds. So here only equity share capital is there, and then reserves and plus surplus. So together 1,67,250 here, and 1,84,500 here. Debentures remaining the same, 1 lakh. No fictitious assets. Therefore, debt equity ratio means long term debt divided by shareholders funds. Long term debt is just a debenture, and shareholders funds means paid up capital plus reserves and surplus. So if you calculate the ratios, it will be 0.60 is to 1. So debts are 59.79% of shareholders funds, and here debts are 0.54 is to 1. So whether the debts must be debt equity ratio should be high or low, that depends, because if the debts are more, equity is less, sometimes it is better for the shareholders, because on the long term liability you have to pay fixed rate of interest, and if the concern makes a lot of profit, then the equity shareholders will be benefited. But at the same time, the concern is not doing well, there are problems. You have to service the debt, you have to pay the interest regularly. Moreover, on maturity, you have to pay the liability, and therefore it is like a double-edged sword. Therefore, it depends. Anyway, here the debts are 0.60%, 60 when compared to the shareholders funds. Working capital to inventory ratio. So working capital means current assets to current liabilities, and inventory means here it is yes, you are taking the yes here current assets 82,800 minus current liabilities. So 50,050 for 17 and 64,690 for 2018. That is working capital. Now working capital to inventory. So 50,050, that is working capital. Inventory is 56,160. So 0.89% to 1. And here it is 1.31 is to 1. So 1.31 times the uh, inventory. So that is how you are calculating it. So that's about this problem. So by this I am completing the presentation. Thank you very much.